Boom. Welcome. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Another episode of Living Well Together.
Big life in a small town.
Big life in a small town.
We love
Thanks.
it.
Thanks for joining us once again.
We actually had a wonderful small town event at our local Young's Dairy farm this weekend. And it was so fun. And it really did just make me so grateful for our tiny town and just bringing the Living Well patients and your Living Well staff together and, just one big team and happy family. And Young's took such good care of us. We had a great time.
We got to get one of the guy who owns Young's as a guest.
He's on our list. Yeah.
All right,
I just haven't gotten an email address.
Young's is the Jersey dairy, not far from here. It's kind of like a destination in Ohio.
It is. People actually say, yeah, I'm coming to Young's.
Right. And so they got cows that they milk and they use that milk for products and stuff. But he's also kind of turned it into a Disney experience. There's everything from putt-putt golf to batting cages to a big carousel. You can feed the goats. You can watch the
carousel
cows get
was
milked.
so fun. That was new for me.
Yeah.
And Honey was amazing. She was so brave. She
Rode a big chicken.
She rode the big rooster.
Yeah. But we did an event for our people. Every summer we do something for our people in the practice. Usually it's a golf outing. So we'll host a golf outing and we'll get 40 or 50 people. We feed them and drink them and prize them and golf them and have a big day. And this year somebody said, when are you going to do something for people who don't want to play golf? So we had a huge picnic and invited everybody.
Really, really fun.
Yeah.
I think everybody was really glad. And then the people that golf said, well, why doesn't he just do both?
Yeah, well.
We'll do that next year.
Perhaps.
I think also it seemed like the golf courses were really packed for this year, right? For an outing? Yeah.
That's a matter of timing and planning. But no, we wanted to do something for the non-golf club.
We really did.
And I may still grab up a group of people and go play golf before the snow flies. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we just did a big event. So it was super fun. Big life in a small town.
Right.
There was a big car show going on out there at the same time. So the crowds were big. And we had ice cream and food. And it was a good day. Big fun day.
Yeah. Felt like we were, farmers for 4 hours.
We were not farmers. Can you imagine?
No, but it is
Remember
funny.
Green Acres? You would be Zsa Zsa Gabor.
I love that show.
Yeah.
That's a great show. She always had those boas. And I'm like,
she is you.
Those,
Yeah. Fixing stuff
Why
on
do
the
I
farm.
like that stuff?
Because you're just that girl. I don't know the answer. It's part of the mystery of you.
But I really do.
But what are we going to talk about today?
So today we are having another community style event, and it's called HerScan Ultrasound Breast Health Screening.
HerScan, HER scan.
Scan, exactly. HerScan.
Perfect.
Yep. And if you want more information right off the bat, it's herscan.com.
We'll put the link up.
We definitely will. There is a way for you to find an event that would be near wherever you are. You can put in a zip code. And there's lots of these pop-ups that happen throughout the United States. And, the reason that this is so important, we're all aware of breast cancer. I think that is overused. Would you say so?
I would completely agree.
Yeah.
And to be clear, we're going to talk about breast health and breast evaluation and the technology that's involved. And our office is just a location for them to set up a pop-up service. There's nothing in this for us. It is pure community service. We provide them a location, which we love, by the way. Our location is fabulous.
Yeah.
And we just give them a place to set up shop for the day. People schedule online, right?
They do. We don't have any involvement with that.
There's nothing in this for us other than providing people an alternative service that is more naturally, just more naturally health. Yeah, I could go into some different stuff on that.
I know you can.
And we will.
Right. The way our medical system does it now is once you turn a certain age, everybody's supposed to get a mammogram.
Okay.
Everybody. I think it's age 40 now. I should probably check and see. But you start talking about that, and it's supposed to be an annual mammogram.
Yeah.
And
annual mammogram. Ooh.
And, I'm sure that most insurances cover it if you have it, but I know that it's extremely expensive if it doesn't, like over $1,000 from what my understanding is on that.
Okay.
So quite expensive. And it's basically an X-ray. A mammogram is an X-ray of the breast.
Yes.
And the way it's done, for those that have never had one or aren't aware, the woman is disrobed and she actually puts her breast right in this machine that clamps down that breast tissue. Actually is very damaging to that tissue. And
because it's going to hurt a little, right? Like for the test to be done effectively, they've got to compress that tissue in a way that's probably not going to be very comfortable for the person.
Right.
True?
Yeah. I've never had one done.
And everybody
so I can't
has
say
different
for sure.
levels of sensitivity, obviously, but the reality is to be done appropriately, it won't be comfortable.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Well, and so it's not just that pain part, though, that makes this something where you might want to, there's a new term these days called staying curious. Everybody, yeah, we're supposed to stay curious about life and all these alternative things.
Oh.
So we're going to stay curious about alternatives to mammograms. We want, to
Staying
provide,
curious, encouraged, is that a good thing or not a good thing? Stay curious.
I think it's a good thing. I think that if you stay curious to why mammograms might not be a good idea or why ultrasound might be a good idea or thermography, what would be great about that? I think being curious about things is important. I think we talked on one episode about there's an artist who all of his he was a mentor to a lot of other artists.
Okay.
And his thing was you had to have 100 I wonder statements a day to be able to stay as one of his students. Wow. And so that's staying curious, right? I mean, that's a lot of I wonder statements.
Yeah.
So I wonder if mammograms are really safe for me. I wonder if her scan would be an alternative that would be safer for me. I think those are good questions to ask yourself and your doctor.
Okay.
Because I'm not a doctor.
To be clear, I'm not a breast specialist. I am a doctor, but I am not, this is not my forte.
No, so we just want to provide this, though, because it's fresh in my mind because we're getting ready. It was last time that we did this, it was truly such a blessing for me.
I got to
be
admit,
able to talk to
the
all
last
the
time we did
women.
it, I was like not all in.
I
It's
know.
like you just want to use
He
my
really
office
was
and you want to do what?
Yeah.
But we had people come from like Youngstown and Cleveland and
Yeah, several hours away. They stayed overnight.
came and got a hotel and stayed the night. So what we discovered in that episode or with that event is that there's a desire.
Yeah.
And
And
I
a
think,
need.
but see, I don't think people get what they need. I think people get what they want, right?
Okay,
Because people
yeah.
have been led to believe they need a mammogram. And so it's a burdensome process. It's something you're supposed to do beyond a certain age. You've been led to believe certain things that may or may not be true, which we will kind of cover. But the reason people are seeking an alternative and are willing to drive 3 hours to find it is that there must be a desire for new information. Maybe they are staying curious. Or maybe the testing that they've had done historically revealed something that they either did or didn't like. So we should talk about false positives and false negatives in
We will.
mammography. And the stats on that are staggering. It makes me wonder why they even keep doing it. And so while this is not our field of expertise, anybody can go online and find information about the technology. You can find information from medical journals that say, here's what's valuable, here's what's not. So staying curious is probably the best idea.
Yeah.
But we saw the need and you filled it. I am just
I filled it because of my experience. I was going to Schulte Wellness and they had hosted an event there. And so I was part of that event.
The
and
HerScan people? Well, wonderful.
Yeah. And so it was my exposure to them that made me like, I want to do that for our people too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did look up and it is annual mammograms are supposed to start at age 45.
45.
So I am definitely outside of that range. I've never had one and I'm 60.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm doing other things.
Does that make you a bad patient?
No, because this was an alternative from my doctor that they made this available to me. And you know what's kind of strange is that if you get a mammogram that is, what would they call it, abnormal, guess what they want you to do next?
Another one.
An ultrasound.
Oh.
So why not start with the ultrasound that's safer, more effective, and then if you need to do something else, go from there? Why the mammogram first to then go to the ultrasound?
I don't know.
Does that seem backwards to you? I'm curious about that.
Well, lots of things in healthcare seem backwards to me, so I'm probably not the one to ask.
Right.
But yeah, radiation exposure is one of the big challenges from mammography, and it's also, kind of a risk factor.
It is. It's definitely a risk factor.
And so on.
Because if we are scanning for breast cancer and a mammogram increases the cancer risk,
Yeah.
and you're doing it every year from the time you're 45,
Okay.
I don't know. From a common sense standpoint, it doesn't make sense to me.
There you go again. That common sense thing is going to get you in some trouble. But, and this could be, man alive, I could get super sarcastic about this. And
I know.
Really.
I know. Would you want
But staying curious is a good idea.
What about one sarcastic thing?
Well, if radiation causes cancer, then why do we use it to treat cancer?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to step on anybody's toes or hurt anybody's feelings or make anybody feel less than.
Yeah.
What I do want to do, though, is encourage the stay curious thing. We should have talked about that before. That should be like a bumper sticker. Because it does, it does beg the question, how do we get where we're at with the way that we do the things we do and what we consider to be health or health care? Yes. So, but let's stick with not our opinion.
Okay.
I like being able to lean into some of the experts.
I love this because there is a little bit of research here. So mammograms expose women to low levels of ionizing radiation, which can increase the risk of developing radiation-induced cancers over time, particularly with repeated exposure.
So one of the things I think is important to understand there is that there are millions of women who have a genetic predisposition to breast cancer that will never get breast cancer.
Correct.
Because
they are making better choices with their health.
Well, it's because genes don't do anything
until
they're triggered, right? And so it's very important to understand that sometimes we blame our heritage, we blame our genetic past on the problems we're currently managing. And I'm going to tell you that somewhere between 12 and 15% of the problems that we manage with health have anything to do with a genetic link.
Yeah.
Which means 85 to 87% of them are lifestyle induced.
Absolutely.
And the reason is because genetic things have to be triggered by an external stimuli. And we've talked about this in other episodes.
Yeah, we have. Right.
But just because your mom has breast cancer or your grandma had breast cancer doesn't mean you're going to have breast cancer. It means you have maybe the gene for that, which I imagine can be tested for.
It is. I think it's.
But if you don't activate that gene,
BRCA1, BRCA2,
right? If that gene's not activated, it stays dormant and it doesn't create a circumstance that would necessitate fear in the minds and hearts of other people.
For sure.
Go ahead.
And we've done a lot of research. There's. From our perspective, focusing on wellness, we put together a lot of materials that focus on what you can do to prevent that trigger from happening.
Prevention is a dirty word, although a lot of people in healthcare use prevention. What does a mammogram prevent? They'll call mammogram preventive. Well, I did my preventive mammogram. Well, what does it prevent?
It's not preventing anything. It's early detection, and those are two completely different things.
Exactly. Early detection is a colonoscopy. Early detection is a mammogram. Right. Early detection is going to the skin doctor. Early detection doesn't stop anything. Now, is it good to have early detection?
Yes.
Would you rather catch it soon?
Yes, for sure.
100%. It's a great idea. But there's a big difference in the word prevention versus early detection.
Well, I was talking about prevention, not mammograms and colonoscopies as prevention. I was talking about a healthier lifestyle.
Well, but the general population has been led to believe these are called prevention.
For sure. But to me, prevention is eating fresh, clean, organic, whole foods. That reducing my stress and cortisol levels by walking, slow riding, and rebounding.
Okay.
Eliminating toxicities in, on, and around us, maintaining a functioning nervous system.
So you're talking about the active management of health and life and healthy.
I'm just talking about, yes, to me, that is prevention.
Right. But what if I do all those things and I still have this predisposition? What if I still get sick?
That can happen, but isn't it better to do all of the things that you can do?
Right. In other words, we don't have control over a lot, but we do have control over some. And the things that we do have control over should be exercised because there are wonderful people who do lots of the right things.
Exactly.
And still come down with a diagnosis they'd rather not have.
Exactly. No, and it is a mystery.
It is a mystery.
It's the mystery of the universe.
But it's always a stress-induced or a toxicity-induced change that triggers genetic predisposition.
Exactly.
But when we're looking at mammography, let's get back to that because
the risk factor that we were just talking about, there's a study that was published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute that highlighted the potential for mammograms to increase the risk of breast cancer, especially in women with genetic predispositions.
Right.
So it's like, wait, you guys, what?
Well, the other thing that's significant is the rate of false positives and false negatives in the testing.
I mean,
when you look at the rate of false positives and negatives, which is good and bad, actually it's all bad.
No, it's all bad.
Yeah, because if you lead me to believe I don't have a problem, but I actually do, then I delay treatment or I delay modification of lifestyle. Right. If you tell me I have a problem that I don't have, I could actually have a prophylactic mastectomy that I didn't need.
Exactly. Yep. For sure.
So the rate of false positives and false negatives is what?
50 to 60% of women undergoing annual mammograms over a 10-year period.
Okay, and where's that published? Well, that's not your opinion, though. Where'd you hear that? Where'd you get that?
This is from JAMA.
What's JAMA?
Journal of American Medical Association.
Yes. So by their own admission, half or more of the people are getting bad information.
Exactly.
I'm going to go through this uncomfortable experience. I'm going to have my insurance cover it, hopefully. But at the end of the day, I still have to figure out if it's true or false. It's like flipping a coin.
Right. And I don't know if I have the study on this, but by having a false positive result and not having breast cancer, just getting that diagnosis will trigger breast cancer.
Because of the psychology involved, because of the mindset, the fear that is instilled.
And it's like it covers them.
Yes.
And it becomes a real thing and they actually end up with breast cancer from a false positive.
Right.
I mean, it's like, it's so cruel. I know. I mean, I know that we can both get worked up about different things, but this really gets me worked up. Especially when they know, especially in their own journals, that they're talking about.
It does make you wonder at 50-50, it makes you wonder why they even keep doing it. Like there are other technologies available that would be a higher probability of accuracy, a much more comfortable experience for the people involved.
Yeah.
It may or may not generate the same amount of revenue though, so we'd have to take a look at that. But, and the other thing is not all breast tissue is created equally.
It's not. There is dense breast tissue. And that's what's also really fabulous about the HER-Scan technology.
Okay.
It's actually the reason why they started leaning towards that.
Yeah.
Is because the ultrasound can read through that dense breast tissue so they can get a more accurate reading and result.
More accurate, more comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes a little bit more sense to me than wondering why we keep doing it the other way.
Right. Yeah. And so that also, a study in radiology found that mammography sensitivity drops significantly in dense breast tissue, missing up to 50% of cancer. So that's where some of that false negative comes in.
The other thing is I would think, and this is just me thinking out loud, I would think that tissue would have had to have grown beyond a certain size before it was even available for discovery. And that metabolic change that is leading to cancerous growth would be much smaller, but detectable with other technology.
I think that is true. I think that there's something about that.
By the time you can see it on a mammogram, it's got to be pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious. But yet they're still missing it. And they're also, still reading things that aren't there. So, it just makes me curious.
Yeah.
So it can give women a false sense of security. It's not all cancers are detected, particularly in the early stages, like what you just were saying. So relying on that. So one of the things is, self-testing.
Okay.
It can be every day, every week, every month, as long as you know what your breast tissue feels like.
Yes.
And if you notice changes, that's usually found earlier than a mammogram can be.
Well, and we recently had somebody that we are aware of who had a palpable, like she knew she was feeling a lump. And the question is, what is that lump? And her mammogram, they did a mammogram and she's freaked out. And not in a good way. And so I believe she's on the calendar to be here Saturday for her scan. And they'll tell you that. The journal in ultrasound medical biology, number 9, I think, on your list of things, says that ultrasound is more effective at evaluating palpable breast abnormalities, reducing the need for biopsies and additional imaging.
Yeah.
And the thing with biopsies is, and again, I'm not a medical scientist, I'm not a researcher, I don't know this story.
I feel about this.
But when you puncture something,
you
are letting it into the
beast.
system. Yeah, you are letting it out.
Because something that's encapsulated has now got a hole in it.
Well, yeah, the body will wall it off. In other words, the immune system is always trying to keep things from getting out.
Right.
And if we biopsy it, we are kind of letting it out.
So I feel like for you and I, we have a higher risk tolerance to this type of thing. Like I am willing to not do those things and do all the things that I would do without knowing.
Yeah.
And then see where we go from there.
Right.
Like I can't say because I've never dealt with it, but I in my mind right now, I would not do a biopsy.
Not first things first.
Not
right away necessarily. Yeah. And it is hard to say. These are very, very personal decisions people need to make, and they need to make them prayerfully, and they consider the, all the odds and all the options.
Right.
But any decisions that we make that are fear-based, any decisions that are made in a hurry without fear or without thoughtful contemplation, or if, yes, you're being bullied into a decision, then I'm going to say it's time to step back.
Yeah. Give yourself some
tumor
time.
growth doesn't happen in milliseconds.
Right.
And so if you get this diagnosis and you get this experience that says, hey, this might be or could be or, it looks like, then let's go with maybe.
Right.
And then let's, step back and say, what do we got to do?
Right.
And if the mammography says it's a hard maybe, that's when you do some other things. And it might be ultrasound, it might be thermographic readings.
Or start with ultrasound first.
Yeah. Well, but
and then go from there.
Again,
but
we're
if
not
you're
going
already in the system.
Yeah. Once you've had that done, they're not going to say stop doing it. But the people we met with our last event did stop doing it, and they now know that there's a better way that's significantly better as far as comfort and as far as efficacy.
Yeah, exactly. The cost and accessibility concerns. The cost and accessibility of mammograms can be prohibitive for some women, leading to disparities in breast cancer screening. So I don't know if they're referring to that they're not going to get as good a care, but it did emphasize the economic and logistical barriers to mammography, particularly in low-income populations. I think one of somehow they worked it out that insurance pretty much covers the mammograms. The HER scan, the ultrasound event, these are people paying cash out of their pockets.
Right.
Or using their health savings account cards to pay for it. They know that this is the better way for them to go, and they're willing to pay the difference to do it. They're like, you can keep your money and your mammogram. And they're stepping away from what their insurance is telling them that they have to do and choosing for themselves. They're just more empowered. They've educated themselves on what the benefits and the risks are.
Yes.
Both things.
Well, and following the money. Sometimes the people who own insurance also own the companies that do the procedures or sell the treatment or not everybody, let's just say the world's not always an altruistic place. Not everybody's out to make the world healthier. Not everybody's out to make the world happier. There's a lot of money to be made managing misery.
Yeah.
And so, again, we're walking kind of a fine line with some of these conversations. And it's not to make anybody feel uncomfortable or like they've made bad choices. It's about staying curious enough to ask good questions and say, what is best for me? And what does make sense? And is this a logical conversation in my own mind?
Right. And when we're talking about awareness, this is just helping to bring awareness. That's really all. That's really the only reason why I wanted to talk about it. It's a lot of people don't even know that this is an alternative for them. So just raising that awareness to thermography, ultrasound, as a comparison to mammogram. For me personally, my choice would be if I had an irregular reading from a HER scan, then my next stop would be a breast MRI, not a mammogram.
Right.
Because still you're gonna, it's kind of like, and you'd have to like jump through a lot of hoops to get there because they're going to say, nope, you got to do the mammogram before you can do the other. But if you already have an irregular reading on the ultrasound, then why not just go to the MRI after that?
Right. Well, and again, we're kind of watching the way money flows through that system. And that may or may not be to our advantage. Here's another article that was published in the Journal of Clinical Radiology that says a review in clinical radiology discussed the benefits of new ultrasound technology in breast cancer detection, particularly in the differences from benign and malignant lesions.
Which then that would prevent the need for biopsy, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And this is published in 2013. This is not new. This is 10 years old.
Yeah.
So the fact that,
can you
that
imagine?
there's this information that says we know better, but we don't do better, that makes you kind of wonder where the system's
and also knowing
stacked
that
as well.
That the technology is even that much better than it was in 2013 too, because they're talking about 3D ultrasounds as well. Well, this probably is 3D ultrasound, isn't it?
Right. The other, well, there's a lot of other technology. The point is, clinical radiology and traditional X-ray are archaic in their ability to detect things of that nature in that tissue.
Right.
It is not the go-to, should not be the go-to as far as women at 45 or from whatever age forward. It's just not well publicized and it's not well thought of or talked of. And we've got October coming up.
We do.
October
and we can touch on this, briefly. It's just a week or so away by the time you're listening to this. But everything turns pink in October.
Yeah. They have commandeered pink. And
and that's the Susan B. Komen Foundation.
Right.
For
breast cancer awareness.
Awareness,
is anybody not aware of breast cancer?
So can I just go through, we don't have to stay on this very long, but it's an overwhelming amount of hype that happens. And the way that people rally around it and they raise funds and how this all works, but it's a machine, right? And for people, we think that we are giving to people that are struggling, for one thing, helping those people that have breast cancer, and also helping to prevent breast cancer.
Well, we're helping to fund the science to make it go away.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm going to suggest that cancer, if they could solve it with money, it'd be gone already because they have generated bajillions of dollars and it's still a problem. In fact, the problem is growing, not shrinking.
Yeah, it's true because of toxicity and stress. My two things, S&T, stress and toxicity.
Those are your two things?
Those are my two things. Anyways, let me just whip through this list real fast. 21% of the money that Komen raises goes to cancer research. That's it, 21%.
Okay, where's the other 79% go?
The other 79% goes to managing that.
The
foundation, yes. So the executives, the people that run it, and that it is not being, so
there's an organization to run. So part of the money goes to cancer research.
Yeah, exactly. Komen has taken legal action against over 100 small nonprofits for using the phrase "for the cure" in their fundraisers. So they become kind of like a bully in that community.
You can't use our "for the cure" phrase.
Yeah, even
run for the cure, ride for the cure, race for the cure.
Exactly.
And every time I hear that, I think of a band from the 80s called The Cure.
One of my favorites.
We're racing for the cure. It's like, yes, I would raise money for those guys.
I have a favorite. I can't think of what it is.
Never mind.
Komen partners with KFC, who sold pink buckets of fried chicken for the cure, which is one of the most unhealthy, ultra-processed foods.
Seed oil, soy-based trash.
Okay, that you can eat. Also, pink ribbons on Diet Coke, filled with neurotoxins and carcinogens. Partnered with bottled water companies using BPA in their bottles, also a known carcinogen. They created a perfume called Promise Me, containing toxic ingredients, coumarin, oxybenzone, and toluene, all cancer-causing toxins. They also partnered with a fracking company, Baker Hughes, to make 1,000 pink drill bits. Many of the 700 chemicals used in fracking increase the risk of cancer. What's your thoughts on fracking? I don't have enough
time. We don't have time.
And I don't have enough knowledge about that. And they have a financial score of 2 of 4 on the Charity Navigator. So there's just a lot of incongruencies when you're thinking about possibly donating or being a participant in those types of foundations, just knowing where your money's going.
Right.
And if, for us personally, I know that we are always on the lookout for individuals that could benefit 100% from something that we would like to donate.
I like to know 100% of the money that I'm going to put somewhere goes to 100% of where I wish it would.
Exactly.
And that might be supporting families that need individual support.
Exactly.
Not necessarily even to pay their medical bills, but to buy food.
Yes.
And to make sure the groceries are there and to make sure the lights stay on. And there's a lot of ways. And it's usually going to be a small nonprofit, not a national or a global wear a certain color for this whole month thing. It just blows my mind how they have allowed the mindset of people to revolve around this one thing.
Marketing.
It's awesome. It's amazing.
So here's the thing. For those of you that know somebody that maybe is struggling with breast cancer, they have a concern about it because it is something that is genetic to their family, there are some really awesome resources. ChrisBeatCancer.com. Follow him. He is so brilliant. He was diagnosed with cancer when he was, I think, 23 years old, just a young guy. And he knew that he did not want to go the traditional route. And so he took control of his wellness. And he's been cancer-free now for 28 years. I think it's 28 years. And so Chris Beat Cancer, the other one is Chris Carr, KRISCARR.com. She also has a great information. She has a lot of good mindset stuff because when you are dealing with health concerns, that can exacerbate the
mental
condition.
Connection cannot be underestimated. The spiritual connection cannot be underestimated.
Exactly. You can worry yourself sick. And,
Amen.
Yeah. And so following her is great. And also remedy.thesacredscience.com can also be helpful for prevention education. And also, if you've been diagnosed with something like that, new tools to help.
So our goal today really was not to hurt your feelings because I know this is a sensitive subject for some people.
It is.
And at the end of the day, we are not interested in making people feel better, worse, or different in any way. We are interested in providing you a different way to look at things.
Yeah. And to help you to stay curious too.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of risky for us to talk about these things because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And
but it's hard to keep your mouth shut when you know there's a better way.
Exactly. And
when you know
when
there are things that are
that's
beneficial.
Not from us.
Right.
But these are from their own journals and medical documents.
It's not going to be headline news. I'll tell you that.
Right.
And so to take charge of your own health and well-being is going to be a high priority. It's not going to get better until you decide it's going to get better.
Exactly. And if you need any of these resources, please reach out. We can send you a guide. We can send you, some even some information that you can talk to your doctor about, good questions to ask if you're in this situation, because I think that's really important to be able to have those hard conversations with your medical providers too.
One of my favorite questions to encourage people to ask when they're at that kind of an evaluation with their family practitioner or their expert guy or gal is, Doc, where did you read that research? And could I have a copy? Where did you get that? And could I have a copy?
Yeah.
I want to feel like a smart consumer for my own health, my own family. And where did you read that? Because trust me when I tell you, a lot of what's shared in traditional health land is an opinion or a repeat of what they've been told. Repeat, 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 repeat. And sometimes when you hear something frequently and over and you don't even question it anymore, it becomes what you would behave in some kind of truth. So where did you read that? And could I have a copy?
Those are excellent questions. And we have a list of even more than that. So if you'd like that, just let us know. It's a good starting point for sure. Thanks for tuning in.
Smash that subscribe button.
Subscribe, follow, like. We really enjoy seeing that subscriber list ticking up. And we love it when you share. And we love it when you comment. It makes us feel so good.
I'll be curious to see how this lands. Good, bad, or otherwise, throw us a comment. We love haters. We love everybody the same way. So chuck something in the comment box and let's just see how many plays we can get out of such a thing.
Yeah, and let us know if you're staying curious about any other things too, because that's also, it helps us to think of new topics to bring to the podcast circuit.
And we are now in see you next time mode.
Bye.
See ya.
How'd that go, Graham?
Who knows? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.